here to talk about REDCap offline. For those of you who know that REDCap is inherently online, this might come as a surprise. So how we came to use a REDCap offline term like this is we first look at our users. These are all our users, or all the IP addresses of our users in the last 3 months. As you can see, we have a lot of users in the continental US, but we also have a few users in South America, Africa, East Asia. And all those users usually have one thing in common, is that they have a Saudi internet connection. So some of these people came to me, or some of these UW people say like, yeah, we have a Saudi internet connection over there, but we still want to use REDCap to gather some of our data. Can we use an offline version or something like that, that we can still have REDCap functionality, but don't have to be connected to the internet continuously? So I looked in some of the literature and some of the Google groups, and I came up with a couple of previous attempts. So there was one guy who wrote an asynchronous application that actually took the baseline REDCap software and tried to mold it into some kind of Windows program and then run it on his laptop. However, he wasn't really super successful because it had a lot of bugs, and he was basically trying to push a square peg in a round hole, because REDCap is a server-based application, so it wasn't really meant to be run on a laptop or a computer. Some other people have used Excel import templates that REDCap generates, just have a couple of those. They work reasonably well, but you don't get the benefits of having the REDCap interface and all the functionality in REDCap. So from all of these articles, I kind of divined that any solution that we're going to come up with has to be easy to install, as in you don't have to have gone to college and be an engineer or something to install this. It has to have a relatively low cost research footprint and low cost in general, meaning it should run on low-end laptops. If you ship 20 MacBook Airs to Africa, they're probably going to get stolen, so you kind of want to go with a lower cost solution. Additionally, not a lot of funding is available for these research projects, so cheaper is better in that case. It should be easy to run and should be easy to customize. However, the last one is a little bit of an optional one. So our solution was virtualization. Why did we choose that? Well, we have a lot of in-house experience in Mr. Prosser over there, who uses a lot of virtual machines to actually run our main REDCap instance is a virtual machine, so we already have an existing basis. So I was thinking, can we use that to make a smaller custom REDCap virtual machine to run on a low-end laptop so we can distribute this around the world? Well, it turns out we can. So we also went for an open source solution, because our main REDCap instance runs on a proprietary Linux operating system. Luckily, that Linux operating system also has a free version or an open source version. So there were actually plenty of open source solutions out there that we can use for this. So yay, it's all free. It's easy to copy the VM. It's as easy as copy and pasting a Word document. You can copy an entire VM on a USB stick. It's easy to run once set up properly. You just hit resume and your VM starts up and you can start using it. We also chose it because it's very close to a fully functional REDCap experience. The main exception is that any features that are dependent on an active internet connection, think online bookmarks, think survey invitations, emailing, those things won't work because you need an internet connection for that. However, in most of the use cases, you actually won't use that in the field because you're doing data collection on the ground without an internet connection anyway. So no need for email. And we figured out that it's very low footprint. Justin was able to compress it to only use half a gig of RAM, and most laptops these days have about 4. About 2 of that is freely available, so you can actually run a couple of them. And the beautiful thing about this is that entire thing fits on a 1 gig USB drive, which are about $6. So you can actually copy all the VMs and all the necessary software, only 1 gig USB drive, ship it off to Africa to any of them and say like install. So that all works out great. The resources that we used, I'm putting this up for the web video. We use CentOS, which is a Linux operating system, VirtualBox, which is the virtualization software, which we actually have is available for both Windows and OS X for the Mac. Apache as the web server, MySQL as the database, REDCap obviously as the open source software to actually use all of that. So those 5 things are all encapsulated in the VM. Current browser is basically anything that's updated in the last decade and runs Java. 64-bit operating host system. We actually tried it on a 32-bit system, but for some reason the VMs that we created were incompatible with a 32-bit version. It wouldn't run properly. So since most of the newer low-end laptops are 64-bit anyways, we didn't think it would be too much of a problem, but that's one constraint. You do need 4 gigabytes of RAM if you want to run a 64-bit operating system and some programs on it. And if you want to upgrade the REDCap instance or do something in the backend, in the guts of the REDCap database itself, I personally use MySQL Workbench, but if you have any other SQL query editor, you can use that too. So that's what we used. I actually am running a pilot at this moment with somebody that has a couple people in Africa. This is very rough, the setup or the use case that we used. The little computers, laptops on the left-hand side are in the field. They're gathering data using this VM. Because all the REDCap functionality is intact, they can actually run their own exports that are CSV files. Well, CSV files aren't really big, maybe 50 kilobytes or something, so it's really easy to email them or put them in a secure Dropbox environment, for instance. So what we're going to do is, once they export something like that, they're going to transfer it over to a data manager who works and lives in Seattle. She is going to combine all of those exports into one big import file and then put it in the mothership installation, as I like to call it, or our main REDCap installation. So she uses all those different exports to consolidate all the information in one online version, which does have all the functionality associated with that. So that way you get the best of both worlds. You have online backup and storage and everything, but you still get to use REDCap and its functionality in the field without an internet connection. This is a low-cost alternative for an offline REDCap. It runs on fairly newer, lower-end laptops, which you can buy for $300-400 at Best Buy, of all places. And there are no licensing fees. Everything is open source, so you don't need to give some overlord your money. So that's kind of nice. It produces exports that are compatible with any REDCap installation in the world, as long as they have the same variables defined. So that's kind of nice. It's easy to upgrade to the latest version of REDCap. There's relatively easy troubleshooting. We have next to none custom code in there. Justin wrote, I think, 1 line of code for this entire thing, which is a show me the IP of the virtual machine code. And there's a low threshold for adoption. Like, existing REDCap users will know how to use it because it looks familiar to them. If they know how to use REDCap, they know how to use this. They only need to learn on how to start up the VM. And one final point, because I'm almost out of time, it's easy to preload this with existing users. So you can say, I have 5 different users on my VM. I copy this and I give everybody their own login with projects, users, and or data. You save the VM, you export it, and you put it on a stick again. I actually did that for the prototype. That's also one of the things that we could offer as ITHS as a consult service. You're doing something in the field without any internet. Here is a VM that we custom configured for you, so you can actually use a project that you already have and don't have to figure that out yourself. One final thing, I've actually been running 2 instances at the same time during this meeting with the presentation. I won't cut the internet feed to prove that they're actually offline, because then that would kind of kill Adobe. But this is our normal REDCap instance. This is a local one because you can see that with the address over here. So this is the 5.12.1 version, and this is the latest and greatest REDCap version, version 6.0.2. I just set these up this morning, and they have been running continuously on a MacBook with 4 gigs. So it actually works. So that was my final thing.